Welcome back to Bay Area Panthers Weekly. Once again, I am Mike Pulaski, and this week the Panthers get a big win on the road, 3,000 miles from home, back in Massachusetts versus the Massachusetts Pirates. And one of the things towards the end of the season, when you've sealed off kind of your playoff implications, your playoff seeding, all of that, you get a chance to see guys that you don't really get a chance to see during the regular season. And this game, we had an opportunity to see backup quarterback Liam Thompson. And right now, Liam's joining us for the show. And I got to ask, I know what it's like to be a backup quarterback. I know what it's like to be there sitting and prepping for every single game. What did it feel like playing in that game this week?
Man, it was a blast. Obviously you want to be ready to go every week, but it, I think it was probably Monday or Tuesday last week. They told me I'm gonna go pretty early on and get a lot of the reps. So it's definitely a different feeling, but it was a ton of fun. It had been quite a while since I got out there and got any kind of significant reps since my senior year in college in a game situation. So no, it was fantastic. Good to come away with a win.
And what's this year been like for you as part of the Panthers organization?
Yeah, so the first year playing indoor football, it's been awesome. It's been a really awesome place for me. Just really enjoy being around the guys, teammates, coaches, the entire staff, and it's obviously fun to win. So it's been an awesome experience in terms of that, but also just in terms of personal development, football wise, getting to learn from and work with Josh every day. Obviously, an accomplished player in this league. So working with him and all the offensive staff has been really cool, just in terms of learning the game and trying to, play my role and give good looks in practice and be ready to go if and when it's needed. But it's been a great experience so far. So
Yeah, I always tell people, being a backup quarterback is really difficult in the fact that you're not really a quarterback if you don't think you should be starting. Like, that's just the way it is, right? We all think we should be the starter, and you have to have that mentality. But once you are kind of in that role, and there's not enough open spots for people to play, as many open spots as there are people who can actually play the position. And so talk about what it's like and working that edge and trying to be in that kind of weird space of competing, working hard, challenging, but still playing that backup role.
yeah, it's definitely been a new experience for me. I don't. I was thinking about it the other day. I don't think I've ever gone into a football game before this year, not expecting to play. All the way back to Little League, so it's a different experience. But it just requires a lot of effort and discipline. I think kind of a different level than being the starter for an entire year, where you kind of know what you're getting yourself into, and you can spend all week at practice and watching film and mentally and physically preparing for the game, and then you get to the game and you don't play. But you always have to be ready for that possibility, just because they talk about with a lot of the guys that we have that haven't had as many reps this year, just if and when your time comes, there just shouldn't be any kind of drop off. So just trying to stay ready for that kind of moment, if and when it comes. But no, it's definitely easy to do here with a team that is obviously, we've had some success this year, but more than that, just it's had the guys in the locker room and stuff like that. It makes it a lot easier than it could be in the different situations. Yeah, no, it's been a good experience for me, and yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Obviously, Wabash College isn't like a gateway into professional football, right? So it's not like a ton of guys come through there and end up going on to play. Tell me, what was your path getting into the IFL?
Yeah, so I finished my last college season was 2023, and I graduated in December of 23. So last spring of 24, kind of getting ready for pro day and all that kind of stuff. So I had my pro day at Indiana University. Again, like you said, Wabash doesn't have a pro day, so they were nice enough to let me in. So from there, was invited to and participated in rookie minicamp with the Giants last summer out in New York. Was in Canada for a brief time in July. And then after that, kind of just didn't know what was next. So I started working and coaching, but still training for, opportunities. And then started to get some phone calls from the IFL probably last fall. And then first spoke to Coach Windsor, Coach Keith, and, just started to look into it because I didn't know a ton about arena ball or indoor football in general. But the more I talked to the coaches, the more I kind of just thought it was definitely what I wanted to do. Wanted to keep playing ball, and it seemed like a really good place to do it, and it has been so far. So yeah, it's a little bit about how I got here. But like you said, Wabash, fantastic school, but just didn't have a ton of guys to call on in terms of what, what it looks like in terms of, preparation and kind of how to navigate the whole, draft process and all that kind of stuff. So kind of just figuring it out as I went along. But no, extremely grateful to be here now and, just to be playing ball.
That's great. Figure it out as you go along is kind of a life lesson, right? That's what you're gonna have to do for the rest of your life. What is something or just one thing that you learned at Wabash that you take with you, like one of those important life lessons? Because college and playing sports in college, it teaches you so much. But what's the main life lesson you took out of there?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me, I'd say if you talk to a lot of for those that are Wabash is a small all guys college in Crawfordsville, Indiana, about an hour west of Indianapolis. But I think if you ask a lot of guys there, and for me as well, the biggest thing that I learned that I try to carry on with is just learning how to learn. It's a liberal arts college, so you take a ton of different classes and different subjects outside of your major, minor, whatever that may be. But it kind of teaches you how to adapt and overcome in situations you might not be completely comfortable in. And I think that's something that really translates to, learning and life in general. It just kind of, forces you to get into situations where you might not know exactly what's going on or have a ton of experience, but just figuring out as you go, just keeping your work ethic up. And, I think that skill takes you far. Obviously, there's certain jobs where uh, you need to know specific things and you need to have a specific education to do that job well. But there's also a lot of life that if you are willing and open to new experiences, then and you just work hard, then I think that you can go far. So I'd say that's probably the biggest thing that I learned.
That's great. Every quarterback kind of has their own style, right? They got a little swagger to them. They got their own thing. What would you say is your style? If I'm going to talk about Liam Thompson as a quarterback, what is your style?
Yeah. That's a good question. I don't know any thoughts on about that. I would say one thing that I always want to bring to the table is that I want to be extremely prepared. I want to know what I'm getting myself into any given time I get out there. And then once we do get on the field, I just want to be known as a guy that just plays really hard. Some just, gritty and willing to do, what everyone else is willing to do, take the hits, stand in there, run around a little bit and deliver the ball. But yeah, I enjoy watching kind of the old gunslinger type quarterbacks. I like, growing up watching Brett Favre and like watching Baker Mayfield play, guys like that. So yeah, I guess that would be how I would hope that I would be perceived.
Little bit of a gunslinger. I like it very much.
Like that's
Yeah, absolutely. The transition to, from college to the IFL, again, like I said, there's not enough spots for the good players that are actually out there. There's just not. And so you get good players at every level, no matter what school they're coming from. What has been the biggest difference that you've seen coming from Wabash into the pro game?
yeah. I'd say kind of the obvious one is just the difference in outdoor to indoor football. Obviously it's a different size field. You got the walls and all that kind of stuff, but I think it impacts the play style a lot more than I had kind of anticipated in terms of, timing and angles and all these things that are so important that you've learned your entire life, playing on an outdoor size field. And then all of a sudden you're convinced. And I think that was a big adjustment. And then on top of that, just the speed of the game. Like you said, there's a lot of good players in this league, a lot of guys that, have experience playing at a high level. So not only are you in a tight space, but you're also in a tight space with guys that can fly around a little bit. So yeah, I'd say those two would probably be the biggest differences so far.
You're going up against three of the best. I mean, four of the best too with Ty Watson, right? Before he got injured. But
Yeah.
you're going up against the best secondary in the IFL every day when you get to run scout team stuff. Talk about what it's like going up against those guys.
That's been huge. Ty's actually my roommate, and I'm really close with a lot of those guys that are in the back half. And it's like you said, it's a blessing and a curse to go against those guys every day in practice. There's times where I like it more than others, but especially early on, definitely made the learning curve a lot easier for me. You know what I mean? Just seeing those guys move around in practice and have what running Coach Geef's style of defense that's it's complicated and it's fast and those guys work together really well. They're all on the same page and it forces you to show up to practice every day prepared, because if not, you'll get exposed pretty quickly. So yeah, no, that's been an awesome perk of, you know, going out there and running the scout cards every day and doing that kind of stuff against a defense like that. And then you see certain things in the game show up that you've seen in practice. Those guys, you know, just working together and flying around out there. But no, it can be more fun. Like I said, more fun on some days than others, but it's been overall, I think, really, really awesome for my development.
You mentioned working with Josh Jones earlier. Obviously, he was the offensive rookie of the year last year in the league. He's got experience in this league. What have you learned from him in that quarterback room?
Yeah, I think the way that he approaches the game, in terms of preparation and all that stuff, with the experience that he has in the season he had last year and is now having this year, definitely trying to take a few notes out of his book on that one. And then, you know, early on in the season, just being able to come in with questions about not only our offense, but just the indoor game in general. He was super open and willing to help me out with that kind of stuff. And, you know, now I feel like we've gotten to the point where I can kind of help him out on the game plan, stuff like that. And, you know, try and embrace my role and all that, meeting outside of the other meetings that we have as a team and things like that. So hopefully I'm able to help him out, just because there's so much that goes into preparing for a game. So yeah, no, it's been really cool working with Josh this year and learning from him, and now trying to also give that back as, you know, we approach hopefully going on a run here, and just trying to do whatever I can to get us ready to go.
And you obviously got a look. You showed up well in the game, 3 touchdowns rushing, another touchdown passing. What would you like your future to look like in this league or in football?
Yeah, obviously, I think a lot, or just about all the guys in this league, have aspirations of playing at, you know, the highest level in the NFL. I think, you know, this league is a really awesome opportunity to continue playing football, to get film, to be just still involved and still playing. And, you know, I don't know exactly what the future will hold in terms of where that will be for me, but at the same time, I definitely plan on continuing to play. I think that the last game on Friday, you know, you got the first one out of the way for me. So hopefully, you know, good things ahead. But I you know, you got to get back in the game and take the hits and see people really flying around full speed and all that kind of stuff. Um, so I guess to answer your question, I don't know exactly what it will look like, but it definitely reminded me, you know, just how much of it. And so, yeah, I guess we'll see.
And then after football, what is your plan?
Yeah. So, trying to figure that out. I had a lot of really good experiences in college doing some different internships and things like that in a lot of different fields and things like that, from Indianapolis originally. So we'll see kind of where I end up, but I'd love to continue doing something in football or sports in general, but specifically football, you know, whether that's coaching, whether that's becoming involved in, you know, front office management, so anything like that. But at the same time, I try to, you know, be open to opportunity in general. And, so we'll see. Kind of, you know, at the moment, just extremely focused on what we can do right now to get ready for this playoff game. So it's, you know, you don't want to look too far ahead in the future, but yeah, ideally something in football in the future.
Well, finally, we'll finish off here. You are going into the playoffs, right? And so it's determined now you guys are playing Las Vegas for your first game. So if you end up under center, what should Bay Area Panthers fans expect from a team led by Liam Thompson?
Yeah, I just kind of like I said earlier, with, you know, all the guys that haven't had quite as much experience. I think we have great depth on this team, and, you know, they talk to us all the time about being ready when your number's called, if and when your number's called, and you know, just hoping to, if that did happen for some reason, just operate the offense smoothly, take care of the ball, you know, just play winning football, and you know, play really hard, and, you know, be ready for that opportunity in that moment if it presents itself. I'll just I think playing winning football, I think, would be uh, the big focus for me, especially once you get into playoffs. So
Yeah, playoffs especially. I know it's your first year doing this, but playoffs in the pro game, it's one and done. So
absolutely.
winning football is the key, no matter what that looks like. Liam, I appreciate you coming on, brother. Great to see you play. Great to see you get the field as a former backup quarterback myself, who went on to become a starter. I appreciate you getting out there on the field. That game, by the way, coming up, Las Vegas Nighthawks, we will have the call right here on KMBR 1050, 5:05 Sunday, May 3rd, versus the Vegas Nighthawks at the SAP Center. Myself and Kevin Richardson will be on the call, or you can come down there, support your Bay Area Panthers. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Joe Fouché, who got 4 interceptions this past game, will be on to join us and talk about defense when we get back.